Okay, so this is our first screencast for our crop planning spreadsheet, and I'm just going to review the different components of the spreadsheet to start. So this spreadsheet is set up for a bi-weekly harvest, twice weekly harvest on Tuesdays and Fridays. You're looking at the Tuesday section, and if we scroll down, you'll see the Friday section down there below. So let's just stick on Tuesday for now. Just some of the components here. If we look at column B, some basic crop information here. If we're putting in, starting here on B10, we put in our crop name, our small bag weight in grams, and then our large bag weight in grams. It's going to feed these cells up here in row 8. It's going to put our crop names, and then it's going to use the small and large bag numbers for calculations in other parts of the spreadsheet. In column C is our customer names, and D is our price for those customers, and E is our bag size, either large or small there. And when you can see when we get into our planning area, which is this bit here I'll highlight for January the 6th, up to there, the large and small bag information and tray, you can actually get trays in there, in column E, you can do a large bag, a small bag, or a tray. Those feed into these columns beside the varying crops, crop 1, crop 2. And that just is for calculations later on below, which we'll take a look at. So this is for our Tuesday, January 6th harvest. Below my crop, so we've got our crop names here in row 8 that we looked at. Below our crops is our cycle length in days. So crop 1 is going for 10 days. And so what that does is it gives us some information up here in row 4. So a 10-day crop needs to get soaked on that day and then sowed on this day. Some of the sowings are happening on the same day and some of them are happening a day later, and you can change that just by changing the formula. You can see the same date is just it equals a cell above it, and if it's the next day, it's the cell above it plus 1. That's the calculation there. We'll put in there how many days we want the crop covered for, and then it gives us our uncovering date as well. So as you may have noticed, we've got between the green and orange cells, basically the only cells we're going to edit are the green cells. The orange cells, the data feeds from other areas. These would be the exceptions in our sow date. You might change that periodically. So otherwise, just change the data in your green cells. In the green here, this is where we're going to put the number of bags of each that the customer is going to buy. So 2, 3, 2, 1, whatever it is. And at the end here in column R, it's just going to add those up for us. And we can use that as a filter for other parts of the process. So that's the upper part there. When I enter information, this part, it actually is going to feed, if you scroll down here, this part as well. So it feeds the harvest 2 weeks later, and that'll make more sense when we look at actually going through the spreadsheet. So I'm going to scroll down here so we can see what happens to our information. So once we've input our projected sales, which is what we're basically putting in here, what we think we're going to sell and what our standing orders are, it's going to do some calculations. It's going to calculate how many small bags, how many large bags, and how many trays of each crop we need, and then give us a small bag equivalent. So we look at everything in terms of small bags. It's our smallest unit, and so everything is based on the small bag. Our projected yield, we've put in there, you can change this, of course, is 4 small bags per tray. And in the case of these where it's 125 grams, that would be 500 grams per tray. And then once we put in our yield, our projected yield, the spreadsheet will calculate how many trays we're going to have to sow. Below that, we're going to put in how many trays we actually did sow, and then the lot number of the seeds we used. When it comes to harvest time, we'll put in our trays harvested, our small bags harvested, our large bag harvested, or it might be more accurate to say small and large bags packaged, and then our market weight as well, or any bulk weight we have after our small and large bags have been packed. That's going to give us our total harvest in small bags and in weight, and then it's going to calculate our actual yield. So we're always comparing our actual yield to our projected yield, and most of the time that's going to be pretty spot on. In the beginning, it'll be off as you're learning your crops. And then we can make some notes on things down below here if we want, about the temperature, about the weather, about any crop growing anomalies or anything like that. Now, if we scroll down to Friday, Friday is just the same. One thing that I guess is not different is the customer and the price and the bag size all feeds from this Tuesday data here. So when I put in, and I'm just going to show you, when I put in the information there on this one, it actually enters it here automatically. So we actually only ever enter our information on our Tuesday. That just makes it a little easier to manage the spreadsheet. And as I mentioned, when I enter information in here, it feeds the crop planner for 2 weeks in 2 weeks, and that's just basically to account for any biweekly sales we have, and it'll do that for the rest of the spreadsheet. So it'll continue on every 2 weeks. So the reason is so there's always data there, because your sales and your standing orders aren't going to change a lot from week to week, and so we do it feeds every second week, because that accounts for biweekly orders a little better. And the reason we want it feeding is there so if we go to look at the spreadsheet in a hurry, we've got a good sense of our general numbers without having to enter all that data again. So because our data is going to remain relatively static from week to week, we don't want to be inputting a bunch of data over and over again, especially if it's the same data. So that's a general overview of the spreadsheet here, and in our next screencast we're going to take a look at actually putting this into use.